inside this one, do you believe Russ wants out of L.A.?
I do. That's why the parting of the ways happened between him and his agent. The agent wanted Russ, believed that the best situation for Russ was to make the most of the situation in which he was in L.A. Russ doesn't want that. Russ doesn't feel wanted. The fan base has soured on Russ. I think a lot of his teammates have soured on Russ. Skip, even the front office last year was reported. I think Brian Windhorst had reported that the front office had told Frank Vogel, do what you feel is in the best interest of this team. And if you feel sitting Russell Westbrook down, bringing him off the bench, we want you to do that.
I believe he was being encouraged to do
yes, he was being...
And he tried it.
He tried it
once.
And he saw how that it wasn't well received by Russ. And he said, you know what? This is only going to make the situation worse. Let's insert him and let's try to make the best of this situation. Skip, this phone call has everything to do. These are the cards that we were dealt. We've got to play this hand. Everybody would like to reshuffle the cards. Russ would like to reshuffle the cards. The Lakers would like to reshuffle the cards and get.
This call took place in Vegas.
Right. I'm assuming maybe was it before or after Russ saw it on one side, Bron saw it on the other.
It would be before.
Before.
Yes.
But Skip, this is what we are. And I think it's come there. The Lakers are starting to realize. LeBron is starting to really realize. You know what? Brooklyn Nets ain't gonna deal us Kyrie for Russ. Russ is not going anywhere. Nobody's gonna take this $47 million balloon payment up off our hands. We're going to be stuck. Let's make the best of this situation that we have. We're in this situation at the bare minimum, Skip, for 1 year. That's seemingly what we have now. Unless something happens over the next 2 weeks to a month, this is where we are. And so instead of going back and forth and it is being perceived that we're at each other, we're not at each other. We just think that the best situation would be for all parties to move forward in a different direction. But since that's not going to happen, okay, guys, let's go ahead and recommit. What is going to be the best interest? What's going to be the best situation for this team to move forward? But I absolutely believe Russ wants to get traded. Skip, the agent has been lock stock with Russ for 14 years. And now all of a sudden, Russ get to the last year of the deal, and all of a sudden the agent says, you know what? That doesn't sound like him. I know him a little bit. I don't know him like and talk to him in great detail and length like I've talked to Rich Paul. So I like to think I have a better understanding of Rich Paul. But he doesn't strike me as a guy that makes rush or haphazard decisions. This was thoughtful. This was carefully planned out. Like, you know what? We just don't see things out of 14 years. We no longer see things eye to eye. And I think it's best that you and I just part ways. You do what's in the best interest of you. I'm going to do what's in the best interest of me, and we'll move forward. We'll agree to disagree, and therefore amicably, we parted ways amicably, but we do have irreconcilable differences, the old reconcilable differences.
Yep.
So for me, Skip, nothing's changed. I understand the phone call. I like the phone call. Get on the same page. But I absolutely believe Russell Westbrook wants out of L.A.
Okay, I'm having a hard time reconciling what you just said because the more I think about this, the more it boggles my mind. And let's start with the fact that this story was reported for Yahoo by our man Chris Haynes, who has been on this show many, many times. So this little bombshell didn't come from some Chris Smith or Chris Jones just blogging somewhere on the internet.
Chris is plugged in.
Plugged in, high credibility. It's a fairly short story that has two big nuggets at the top, which is that the big three, LeBron, AD, Westbrook, huddled up. I'm just going to recite what Chris wrote. Huddled up on a phone conversation the first weekend of the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas, with each expressing their commitment to one another and vowing to make it work. This, according to league sources telling Chris Haynes. So
they didn't do that last year. So nobody had a commitment to each other. Nobody vowed to make it work last year, but we're going to make it work this year.
Well, obviously, that was what everybody reported after that Cold War of a Summer League game in which Russ was over near the bench and LeBron sat down on the baseline, and never the twain shall meet.
Right.
But obviously 1 year ago, LeBron and AD were recruiting Russ.
Right.
And when they all three went to the Summer League, they did so in lockstep with arms around each other because they were a threesome. And Russ was accepted into the trio because they wanted him to be, that they had campaigned for him to be part of the trio.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm having a hard time with the chronology, the order, the sequence here, because this conversation, according to Chris Haynes, took place the first weekend of the Summer League. Okay, so that would be the Friday was the 8th, Saturday 9,
Right.
Sunday 10.
Right.
So it's 8, 9, or 10. Somewhere in there it had to take place.
Well, the 8th is when they showed up at the Summer League game, correct?
What's that?
The 8th, July 8th was when they showed up at the Summer League
I
game.
can't remember exactly the date of that, but it was somewhere in that.
Right.
It was the first one. It was
Right.
the first big one in Las Vegas.
Right, yes.
They had played another game elsewhere, but
Yeah.
this was the first big one.
Because I was out in Vegas on that Friday night.
Okay, so it was that night, I believe.
I think it was that night.
So I don't know where in that sequence. So again, to remind everybody, it felt so awkward because Russ never walked down to LeBron, nor did LeBron ever walk up to Russ, because Russ sat near the bench, seemed to be participating in everything Lakers Summer League team, and in fact, at one point walked onto the floor and participated in a sideline huddle, leaning over into the ear of one Scottie Pippen Jr. to tell him, try this, try that, think about this, think about that, giving him a few tips. So it looked like Russ was all in Lakers at that point, but it seemed a little odd, and I thought rather significant, that Russ and LeBron, a year ago, they were arm in arm, did not even acknowledge each other. And it might be an ego battle of, is it up to me to walk down to him or vice versa, you know, and it's just who's going to make the play, who's going to try to go to the other's presence, you know, like it's just a battle of the egos.
Skip, we've all been there. We see somebody we don't particularly really want to talk to. Well, if you walk up to me, I'll acknowledge you. But if you don't, I'm gonna pretend like I don't see you. Oh, I didn't even see. Did you? I didn't see him. They was at the same place. I didn't see him.
So the other little bombshell dropped by Chris Haynes is the third paragraph of this fairly short story. Westbrook has never requested a trade from the Lakers, sources said. Okay, I tried to make a strong point yesterday, just to be fair, as we reacted to the agent's bombshell that he dropped on Woj, because he sent him a long statement last Friday night, which would have been a week later, parting ways with Russ. I tried to make the point, okay, remember, this is only the agent's side of this. We don't have Russ's side of this. This feels almost like it could be Russ's side of the story, almost like it's coming from Russ's camp, almost like maybe there's a new agent or representative of some sort, a new lawyer, who knows what, involved, who got a hold of Chris Haynes and said, hey, time out. These guys already had a big conversation to start off Summer League, and our side, we have never requested a trade, so we don't know what you're talking about. When the agent says they've parted ways, which they clearly have, is it because Russ wants out and the agent says no? Because that's what the agent told Woj.
Yes, but I believe, Skip, if you look at it, the way that they've done business in the past, when Russ left OKC to go to Houston, left Houston to go to Washington to come to L.A., there wasn't a whole lot of hoopla. They did it behind the scenes. It wasn't no Russell Westbrook has demanded a trade from OKC. Russell Westbrook has demanded a trade from the Rockets or the Washington Wizards. The way they handled it was very, very hush-hush, almost like the agent, like, okay, Russ, what are you thinking? Well, I want to do this. Okay, let me go to the people that's involved that can make this happen without it getting to a Woj, without it getting to a Brian Windhorst or any other NBA insider. So I think the way they handle it is a lot different than a lot of other people handle it. It's never a situation, James Harden requested a trade. Kevin Durant requested a trade. There's never been any of that when we're dealing with Russell Westbrook. So I believe it's the same situation. I believe Russ told his agent, man, bro, I just can't take this no more. I'm getting blamed for everything. If things don't go right, I get blamed. When things go well, I don't get any credit. Bro, I need to dip. He's like, Russ, what are you talking about? Bro, you got $47 million. And nobody is going to value, I mean, what you do is that you keep, because Skip, think about the haul that he first got when he went to Houston as opposed to what the Lakers, what Washington got to get him. So it just keeps going down and down and down. Skip, 5 times? Bro, you went OKC to Houston, Houston to Washington, Washington to the Lakers, and if you leave again, it'll be...
Okay, so now back to the statement that was sent to Woj, an unprecedented move by an agent. I don't remember this ever happening.
No.
And it felt like preemptive damage control, just in case people wondered what just happened, that the agent wanted to get his message out there. Don't blame me for this.
Right.
Because Russ is blaming everybody but himself.
Right.
That's how this came across.
Accountability is still an issue for Russ.
And it's a big issue. So I'm going to recite now from the agent's statement to Woj of last Friday night, Friday afternoon, late evening. Now, says the agent, with the possibility of a fourth trade in 4 years, the marketplace is telling the Lakers they must add additional value with Russell in any trade scenario.
Yes.
And even then, such a trade may require Russell to immediately move on from the new team via buyout. My belief is that this type of transaction only serves to diminish Russell's value, and his best option is to stay with the Lakers, embrace the starting role and support that Darvin Ham publicly offered.
Right.
Well, he did. He's been in Russ's corner.
Skip, for that agent to go into detail of what he's saying, what must that agent have done? He must have called around. He must have put feelers out. And for him to say, they will need to add extra draft compensation.
I'll buy that.
Even then, it might result in Russ having to be bought out.
And by the way, you and I believe that there's no way Russ would ever agree to being bought out.
Correct.
He wants $47 million because that's what his contract calls for. And the best place to get it, just free of charge, is right here.
Yes.
It's just, there he is, right?
Yes.
Okay, and Darvin Ham has said some tough things about Russ, but he's been more supportive publicly than I thought he was going to be, because it sounds like Jeannie has sort of mandated a big part of your job is to fix this.
I think the thing is that Darvin Ham has accepted a lot sooner than a lot of maybe LeBron and AD, is that he was under the assumption that I'm going to have to coach Russell Westbrook. And if I don't have to coach Russell Westbrook, I will make an alternative plan. But I'm going into the Lakers head coaching job is that zero is going to be on my roster. And I need to find a way to maximize what he can do really, really well while staying away from his deficiencies. So he's always embraced that. So now it seems to me Russ, LeBron and AD, bruh, these are the cards. We don't have kings and queens and aces.
You don't.
We got face cards. We got 8 heart, 9 of diamond, 6 of clubs. So those are the cards that we're going to have to play.
You got some 2s and 3s in there. That's what you got.
That's what we got. We got some 2s and fews.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, Skip. I believe Russ. If they could go to Russ and say, Russ, we got this team, and they're gonna give you $47 million. They won't buy you out.
I'll buy that.
I guarantee you, Russ will say, okay, I take it. It doesn't matter the team. I guarantee you he would take it.
Okay. That team does not exist.
It does not exist, Skip. It doesn't.
So as I try to read the body language of this, that Russ did show up at Darvin Ham's introductory press session.
Right.
With his chest out like I'm back in the good graces and I'm here to support my new coach because he's taken me to dinner and I support him because he supports me. Because of that, because he showed up at Summer League and seemed to be actively participating in the Summer League team's game, where he was almost like an assistant coach, that he was trying to help and be a big brother to Summer League players, that all that suggests to me that he's all in to be a Laker. And that's why this came out of the blue. And I immediately tweeted on Friday evening, if not Saturday morning, I just said, the shock to me is that the agent is suggesting Russ badly wants out, and the agent is saying, no, bad idea.
Right.
Well, is it possible the agent is spinning this in a different direction and that Russ is committed to staying with the Lakers? Well, in the end, my takeaway has been from the start, my gut feeling has been that whether you like it or not, and you don't like it, and LeBron doesn't like it, and AD doesn't like it, Russ is just going to be a Laker.
Yeah, you stuck with it.
It's just because nobody wants $47 million unless he would agree to a 75 cents on the dollar buyout, which he's not going to do.
Correct.
Nobody wants it unless it's an expiring contract, and they don't even want Russ to play. They just want him out of the way, where they can take it off the books after a year.
Right.
Okay? So
Well, it was a situation. Think about it, Skip. Okay, John Wall had a very similar contract. As a matter of fact, they had identical contracts. That's why everybody says it's a match made in heaven.
Yep.
John Wall goes to the Lakers. Russ goes to the Rockets. Boom, boom, boom. Everything's happy. But John Wall accepted a buyout, and I guess he got $41 million of his $47 million. But he turns around and gets
that was pretty good.
That was pretty. But here's the thing, though, Skip. Now he gets a 2-year deal for $13 million. Well, the question was, if Russ accepts a buyout, can he then go make the difference of the money that he lost? See, John Wall made up the difference in 1 year with the Clippers. $6.5 million plus the $41 million that he got, $47.5 million.
Big difference. The Clippers think John Wall can still play.
See, thank you. That's it in a nutshell, Skip. That's it. Russ realizes that he doesn't have the value that he thought he had once upon a time. So he knows the likelihood of him accepting a buyout, he's probably going to get less than what John Wall got from the Clippers. Because, like you said, they said, John Wall, you and Reggie Jackson battling for the starting point guard jobs.
They did. Okay. Which leads us back to Jeannie Buss. Clearly, in every trade scenario, the other team is saying, you got to pay us to take him off your hands with your draft picks.
Yes.
We want the one in 2027 and we want the one in 29.
Right.
Well, those are forever from now. It's 5 and 7 years.
And people
from now.
we want them to be unprotected also.
Yes.
Because there's a chance LeBron's going to be long gone in 27. AD might be gone. So they might be, Skip, there might be top 3 picks.
They might be. And yet Jeannie appears to me to be dug in. I'm not going to give up any more of my future post-LeBron to try to make things better for LeBron for a year or two. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give up my future for my present.
My future for right now.
Okay. And I don't blame her for that. But you said yesterday, well, maybe she just needs to swallow her pride and swallow that and just swallow the situation. Russ busted here. It didn't work. Mm-hmm. And you got to get out from under it to give your team some kind of chance next year, because there's no way that you can trade Russ any kind of way straight up for Kyrie. No. The goal is to get Kyrie to the Lakers.
The question, Skip, the thing was always they wouldn't have to include one of those first-round draft picks. The Nets were probably thinking they wanted both. Skip, if I know you got to get rid of something, I'm going to try to extract every single thing because I know you need to get rid of it, or I know you want to get rid of it. Okay. So why am I going to let, you know what, Skip, I know you want to get rid of it, so, I'm going to give you top dollar for it. No! I'm going to get every single thing because I know Skip has to get off said object.
Okay. But the Nets keep making win-now moves. The Nets were the favorites going into last year, and they would like to at least be competitive going into next year.
Right.
And you can't do it with draft picks in 27 and 29.
No.
You have to get back star for star. And that's why with the Kevin Durant trade, which we're going to talk about, that they need packages of players who can keep them vibrant and alive and competitive.
That's why I believe that they wanted to do Kevin Durant first. So therefore, we can see the direction that we need to go in when we move Kyrie Irving. Maybe we won't need guards, because if we get Jordan Poole, if we get Kuminga and Moody, and maybe if we can move Ben Simmons and get an Andrew Wiggins, well, now all of a sudden we've got 3 guards. We don't really need a guard. Maybe we transition and get some bigs, some 4s and 5s for a Kyrie Irving. So I think that's why they want to move Kevin Durant first, in order to see this is what we have. These are the draft picks that we have. This is the year in which we have the draft picks. Now let's deal with Kyrie Irving, and we can go after things accordingly. But, yeah, I mean, I believe the Brooklyn Nets would take Russell Westbrook right now, Skip. Russell Westbrook and no 2 first-round picks. Nets say you deal. But Jeannie's like, nah, I can't do that. That's too steep for me.
You're stuck. And I'm going to bet on Chris Haynes here. I'm going to bet that Russ hasn't asked for a trade, and that Russ did have this conversation with LeBron and AD about let's make peace. Let's go forward. Let's start anew. Let's start fresh here going into next year, because I think they all are resigned to the fact that they are going to have to figure out how to coexist as Lakers next year.
Right. Well, they're going to have to. I wish they'd have figured it out last year.
Yep.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.